Aptos, remember that network, that base layer that launched in October, right before everything hit the fan? Potentially the worst possible mainnet launch of all time, in terms of timing that is, seems to be back from the dead, showing strong price activity in recent weeks. APT, the native token of the Aptos blockchain, doubling in price amid strong NFT interest, according to CoinDesk. That is interesting to see some of these newer base layers potentially find their stride in what looks sort of like an entire market pump a little bit. Bitcoin is up, I think, north of 23,000 last time I checked. NASDAQ Composite Index is up 2%. And as such, some more obscure layer ones seem to be having some success in the price department, at least, as well. So I wanted to talk about that. Aptos seemingly back from the dead a little bit after making a bunch of noise at the end of late last year, raising a bunch of money to create a new base layer that was ultimately going to serve NFT projects and other things similar to what other blockchains in the space have been doing. Very curious kind of about the alt L1 thesis in general here in 2023 on some strength from Aptos and other tokens that we're seeing now in the market. I'm going to toss this straight to Will for some bigger thoughts, I guess, on the alt L1 thesis. Will, do you think we're ever going to see those heady days of alt L1s pumping, such as we saw with Solana, Luna, Avalanche, the famous Solana-Vax trade from a while ago?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. First of all, I gotta say, I think you might have beaten Wendy's backdrop in terms of who was the coolest backdrop on the show these days. That bookcase looking nice. Sorry, Wendy, you gotta up it up a little bit. Jen's always in third place, and I'm, of course, in last place perpetually. Wow. So that's what it is.
At least you put yourself last.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I'm like in a prison cell over here. I need to decorate a little bit, but I'm 26. That's not my specialty, so let's just forget about it. Let's talk about this whole trade here. Aptos, like you said, Zach, had a terrible launch, like marketing, PR. They had so much behind this. They put so much money into it, and it popped immediately. There was a lot of negativity around the token allocation to the foundation. I think about 1 billion tokens were allocated totally for the entire token ecosystem, and half went to the foundation. It's a lot of money just to foundation. They pushed back against that, saying in comparison to other token projects, the percentage was actually quite fair. Take your own piece on that. That's always going to be an argument if you're going to do some sort of pre-mine. But in terms of like the timing, also terrible. Right before FTX, we know that a lot of these teams actually had some connections with Alameda Research and FTX. Aptos and Sui were basically two competing brands coming out at the same time. The end of a bull market, really in the middle of a bear market at that point. And it's a hard time to launch a layer one network. We have seen that work in the past. Avalanche, Solana, Luna, a lot of these tokens were launched during the last bear market. And they did well during the bull market. They did do well, but they also sort of crashed afterwards, right? There wasn't any sustainability like we've seen with Ethereum, which really has gone to its next set of legs and carried pretty well if you look at its price. Here for Aptos, I saw the storyline, and my first thought was actually pretty bearish. I was like, it might be up right now, but we do see this happen quite a bit during bear markets, where a random, no-name layer one project that most people have forgotten about randomly pumps, 50%, 100%. But to be fair, if you're looking at this, it's actually beaten its all-time high since October. So maybe it's finding some legs in the middle of this bear market, along with a lot of other tokens. Wendy, I'll throw this one up to you, though.
There's kind of a lot to unpack with this. So I believe that the guys that kind of started this were ex-Google employees or affiliated with Google in some way.
They were ex-Facebook. They were involved in Libra, later DM, and they brought the Move programming language with them. So it's Facebook, not Google.
See, fancy smancy guys. Okay, so also, I needed to know. I needed to be fact-checked, so thank you for correcting me. So when Aptos first launched, I remember how rough it was because it was literally like in the middle of the crypto contagion. It was probably a terrible time to launch, but at the same time, is there ever really a good time to launch a crypto project? I mean, unless you're like straight in the bull market, but just like when you're ready to have kids, is it ever a good time to have kids?
Never.
Dax, someone,
you can't ever perfectly time throwing a grenade into your life.
On the
it
show.
just happens. And it works
you just
out.
don't know.
Great. Yeah.
So it's good, but again, you guys, like I feel like Solana, I'm actually surprised that it's still doing well, and I think we're going to find out more information in regards to the ties that Alameda had, or how many ties that Alameda actually had to it throughout the court case, which is going to take probably forever. But again, I like to see layer ones kind of compete. We need layer ones. We need this positive competition. I think it's important for the entire crypto ecosystem, especially with NFTs. NFTs are not going anywhere anytime soon. We're going to see them continue to build and grow, and we need projects like this that can kind of help facilitate it. I personally think the reason why Ethereum has done so well is because the ecosystem has been so built out. And if Ethereum fails, then basically every other single altcoin or a lot of these NFT projects are going to fail too. So Ethereum cannot fail. Like it literally can't fail, or we're going to have like a bunch of terrible things happen in the industry. However, I still do think we're in a bear market. I still do think that this is, not a necessarily sustainable pump with anything. And if you're somebody that's like aping into this stuff, investing, dollar cost averaging, please have an entry and exit plan. It just makes me uneasy to see how many people are just jumping into stuff and they're like, oh, yay, we're buying green candles, we're up, we're making money. And then the thing ends up dumping later on because the rest of the market dumps and then they lose all of their money. So I think it's good. I like layer ones. I love the competition, love to see it, love the ties that they have. But at the same time, I do think it's pretty centralized. But does that matter in crypto these days? Jen?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember back in October when we talked about this story, and Wendy, you asked, is there a good time to launch a crypto project, right? It seemed like this was a good time. A bunch of former Meta employees, I think that they had raised $150 million on a $4 billion valuation. It felt like this was going to be, a huge thing, and then it wasn't. They promised these really speedy transactions. I think on launch day, we were all coming down on them because there was reporting that, they were only allowing 4 transactions per second to go through. And then I read this story and, I really focused on the NFT angle. I love to see NFT projects flourishing. I read this morning that AptoPunks is up over 2,000%, which is like the Aptos version of CryptoPunks. And then there was another project up over 3,000%. This really reminded me of when Solana was pumping and we saw all these Solana NFT projects, like flying through the sky. And now look at where Solana is. And so for me, I just watch this. I watch this layer one, and I think, who are going to be the layer ones we watch for NFTs in the next bull market. And if we've learned anything from Solana, it could be anyone. And my money's on Polygon, to be honest. But Zach, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I mean, these are all green fields, right? And I think it's interesting to see projects start to sprout up on these various pipes that undergird these various communities. So the fact that Aptos is seeing some interest, it's interesting. We'll watch it develop over time.